Hard decisions for Errol Spence Jr. Drop the titles, wait for Terence Crawford, or move to 154. Let's discuss it, y'all. Alright, so, Terence Crawford has left Errol Spence Jr. with a bunch of peculiar decisions he has to make over the next few months and really over the next year of his boxing career, because I think by now I really believe that Errol Spence had it in his mind, I'm going to move on to the bigger, stronger, higher payday fights at 154 pounds. I think he was done with 147. But unfortunately for him, this whole Terence Crawford situation and the David Avanesyan fight and the ending to the negotiation and all the lowball talk, all the pricing out talk, all the ducking talk, it's just ended up in fans not getting what they want, and Errol Spence not getting what he wants, and Terence Crawford not getting what he wants. And now everybody, from the boxing commentators to the fighters, have to stretch this whole issue out for at least another year. Maybe more. We don't know. So, I want to figure out what's the hardest decision that Errol Spence is going to have to make here. Will it be dropping the titles? Would it be waiting for Terence Crawford? Or will it be moving on to 154 pounds? To me, I think the hardest out of those three, you would obviously think that dropping the titles would be the hardest thing to do, because he did so much work to get those titles, and his whole goal of getting the titles and everybody's goal of collecting title belts should be to unify all of them and prove that you are the best of a certain generation. But because Errol Spence does have trouble making the weight, like he doesn't really have trouble making the weight, he just doesn't want to make the weight. He's getting older, his body is carrying weight a little differently, and cutting weight is his problem. I don't think he enjoys doing it. And most people, as they age, that is a real factor into why they end up ballooning up in weight as they age, is because most people don't want to cut weight as they age. Normally, as you age, you're adding on more and more and more weight because you're starting to do less and less and less in life. When you're a teenager, yeah, running around, you're playing with your friends, you're running here, you're running there, you're riding bikes, playing basketball, football, but you're doing all these active things. Then you hit your teenage years and it becomes more about schooling and working. And into your 20s, it becomes even more about working and resting. So you're working, you're resting, you're working, you're resting. Then once you hit 30, it's more about stacking and relaxing. So most people, by the time they hit 30 and 40, they put on 20, 30 extra pounds, and nowhere in their mind are they thinking that this weight could be a problem later on in my life. But in boxing, you're constantly having to monitor your weight. And I think that because Errol Spence sees 154 as something he can naturally do, he's tired of having to monitor his weight. So I think dropping the titles would be one of those things where it would be highly on his mind. Like, I don't want to do this, but this might be the best thing for my boxing career. Now, I actually think that waiting for Terence Crawford is probably the hardest thing that Errol Spence is having to do, because everybody knows in life waiting is the hardest thing. Nobody wants to wait for anything. If you have something planned, you want to do it, get it over with. If it's fun, you want to get that fun in. Stop thinking about things that are negative and get your mind on something more, I won't say positive, but something more into the moment and having you feel just a little more relaxed. So I actually think that waiting for Terence Crawford, because that's an unpredictability. You don't know what this guy's going to do. But, everybody and their mama thought that there's no way he can avoid this fight. It's going to come with so many ramifications and repercussions that there's no way he'll avoid this fight. But, I kind of saw it coming. Once we hit summer And I'm like, man, we still talking about this? All the money that's on the table and we're still having to talk about this? There's something going on in the background. So I think waiting for Terence Crawford is something that's probably killing Errol Spence Jr. inside, because he can't predict what Crawford's next move is actually going to be. Nobody can. Nobody saw this BLK Prime crap coming from, when it was right in front of our face. We still couldn't see it for what it was. And, I don't know if that's good marketing on Terence Crawford's part, or if that's shady dealings on Terence Crawford's part, or if that's just the way of boxing at this point, is that nothing is predictable anymore, and you really can't stake a claim on a fight anymore, or a fight that should be made. You can't sit here and say, yeah, this fight is bigger, it's bigger than boxing, it transcends boxing, so it has to happen. You can't do that anymore. You basically have to say, hey, well, if it happens, it happens now. So I think that actually waiting for Terence Crawford would be the biggest problem for Errol Spence Jr. And then you have, hey, do I move up to 154? Because we all know what's waiting around the corner for Errol Spence. There's a few things waiting around the corner for Terence Crawford, but and here's why I think game planning comes in. I think Terence Crawford did a lot of this stuff on purpose. He purposely avoided the tougher fights, knowing he would get longevity in his career. He purposely avoided championship fights, because championship fights and winning championship fights puts you at a different level and gets you more money and spotlight. But they come with mandatories, and mandatories are normally younger than you, hungrier than you, sometimes stronger and better than you. So it puts you in a peculiar situation to where you might have collected a bunch of belts that you really can't defend, because the talent level coming up behind you is actually better than you. So, when it comes to moving on to 154, it's eventually going to happen. But I think now it's a matter of timing. It's do I wait around and try to get this money from this Crawford fight, risk the Boots or Virgil or Sandonius fight that really comes with nothing but pats on the back from the boxing world, because these guys are next in line. And really what it is, it's almost like passing of the torch. Even if Errol Spence beats him, because he's leaving the division, he's almost passing the torch of the division on to the up-and-coming fighters. Something Terence Crawford seems not interested in doing. And Terence Crawford avoided a lot of those fights, like the Pacquiao fight, because instead of getting the torch passed, he had a torch handed to him by Bob Arum and the Jeff Horn situation. So, y'all let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. What is going to be the hardest decision for Errol Spence Jr.? Will it be dropping the titles, waiting for Crawford, or moving on to 154 pounds? Hit that like button for me, share, subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. More than likely get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want a response, it's your boy, and we are man.
It's your boy Keys, neighborhood employee. Niggas knew that I was coming with fire. Y'all ain't up to my pie and up under a car. Your head under a tie, it's the S and the I. Player, we supposed to win. I'm in the booth focusing with coke in hand. Dude hate it when you see the chief running in. Ass mouth hurting like his wisdom teeth coming in. Now that's a roundhouse kick. Come round your house, letting rounds out quick. From Newburgh to downtown, it's that Midwest to down south shit. Y'all ain't fucking with. She chillin', tryna put the feel on the mouth. What's good? She nothing, tryna show these niggas how to ride.